What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering. I'm back from the RNC debates where I sat next to Luke Rudkowski, who made it interesting by loudly booing every chance he could possibly get. Eventually, I succumbed to joining in because it was just too fun. You had to do something to entertain yourself. The event was largely a snooze fest because, well, I don't know, just about everyone on the dais were people that you just knew had no chance whatsoever. I mean, I respect the process and I respect, you know, the debate format. And there were definitely some spicy moments. There was some, you know, some fireworks early on. But since they're all so old and low energy, they kind of faded near the end. Well, not all of them, but most of them. I felt bad for the guys on the end who were just clearly happy just to be there. And Chris Christie, I don't know what he was thinking, but getting a cascading boos rained upon him the entire time, which was hilarious. It was almost immediately an immediate regret moment. Anytime on the dais, anyone on the dais said anything negative about Trump, which also spoke to a lot. I also noticed that it seemed to me that two of the candidates had very large contingent of fans in the arena that were also suspiciously located in the exact same area. So Ron DeSantis people to my left, very obvious. And actually Nikki Haley people on my right, very obvious. And everyone else kind of in the middle was wherever. I was sitting on the floor. But that was definitely more of a mixture of people. But it was interesting seeing it from the inside to help interpret a lot of those cheers and boos that you might have heard. And I don't know that for a fact, but I don't know. It seemed very odd. DeSantis is polling pretty well in Wisconsin, so it could have been natural. But I was surprised to see Nikki Haley, given some of her boneheaded statements, still have so many supporters there. But that's not what we're going to hear. We're going to talk about. It was a good event. I'm really thankful that Rumble got me a seat on the floor there. I got to broadcast from the Rumble studio. It was very cool. Got to meet a lot of people. You know, ran into Patrick Bet-David, Jordan Peterson, a bunch of people that I've alienated, like Dave Rubin, and, you know, and a lot of stuff like that. Ran into a lot of viewers, too. But all the talk, of course, is on the counter programming that was done by Donald Trump. And essentially it broke the internet once, and it will again, Donald Trump will again break the internet just a little bit later today. We're going to talk about that. But you see that, you know, let's get something out of the way. I don't know why people are so emotionally, I think it's just Twitter, because I don't see these kind of like highly emotional takes on with my YouTube viewers. But I just have to point something out because it's annoying to me. It's a pet peeve of mine. You may think it's not a big deal, and that's okay. We don't have to agree on that. But today there have been 100 headlines generated on the fact that Tucker Carlson's interview got 211 million views. Twitter has an entire monetizable active user base of 250 million. So every news outlet, everybody, every political pundit, everybody who's spamming this number, 200 million views, expects you to believe that 90% of every Twitter user that's all over the world watched this interview. Okay, that's just not true. These are impressions, all right? If you get mad about that, I'm not saying that to diminish it. I'm saying that because it matters. This is an impression. This means it just showed up on someone's timeline. We don't even know if it's a unique impression, meaning it showed up on your timeline 10 times, so it gets put into the 10 views. On YouTube, a pretty good click-through rate, meaning you see a video and you click it, would be like a very good click-through rate would be like 10%. That would be very, very good. I suspect most is less than 5 or 4%. On Twitter, I suspect it's way less than that because of the scrolling nature of the content. That all said, I think you can look at you know, the 211 million impressions, and that's certainly a number to be proud of. And also, let's say I gave it a ridiculously high click-through rate of 10%. I don't believe it's as high as 10%, but just so we can have a number, that would still mean 21 million people watched it. That's like very rare unless you're Mr. Beast on YouTube. And this is a political interview between Tucker and Donald Trump. Now, I have said this before, and I'll say it again. If Donald Trump is the nominee, my plan currently is to vote for him. If you expect me to say Trump never did anything wrong, if you expect me to ignore his tie to the poke, if you expect me to never ever criticize the guy, well, I'm just not your guy. I know that's financially beneficial to a lot of political pundits. People who talk politics want to do that. They don't want to ever say anything wrong because they don't want to hurt the money train. But I just can't. Now, this interview I thought was interesting. It's always interesting to see Trump talk. It just is. But I thought Tucker asked some weird questions. Like, he started asking him about Jeffrey, you know, the Steen. That was like one of the first questions he asked. I'm like, bro, what? I was hoping that he would have asked him about, and a lot of people will say, hey, look, we know what Trump's opinion is on Ukraine, for example. And sure, if you're a Trump supporter, you do. But I was hoping that Tucker would have asked a few more questions that were relevant to the debate going on, so normies and undecideds could then weigh their choice to vote for Trump. Does that offend you? Like, people got really mad at me for even criticizing anything. I thought the interview was great. I couldn't wait to watch it. I left the debates last night at like 10:30, got back to the hotel, had dinner, took a shower, and it was the very first thing I watched. Luke was watching it during the debates. Okay. So I was very excited to see it. This is a extremely high view, probably Tucker's biggest views. And again, it hasn't even been 24 hours. So it'll probably end up with 250 million impressions, 20 to 25 million views. A lot of people talk about, oh, it's what everybody does. Well, in order to be counted as a view on YouTube, someone has to click the video and somebody has to watch 30 seconds of a video. Okay, so even that's a pretty low standard. YouTube or Twitter used to show views, but those numbers weren't high enough. So now they just call them views, but it's not. Because, you know, Twitter has, again, 237.8 million total active users. Now, this was like in, let's say it's 250 or something, you know. If you look at March 27th in 2023, it says 206. So let's even if we say it's 250, I mean, not every single person on Twitter watched this. It may feel like that because we're kind of in this sphere. But he did, I mean, he asked him some questions. He gave Trump a platform to talk about how he feels about his indictments, things of that nature. I just wish he had asked him, given him a chance. And I don't blame Trump for this. He's asking the questions. He's answering the questions that Tucker asked. But I would like to hear, and who knows when they recorded it? They might have recorded it last week, but we've already seen upcoming new lockdowns and this, that, and the other thing. I would like to see how, I would have loved to see him ask, does he still believe very strongly in the poke? Would he still tell people to get their 5th or 6th booster? Does he have any regrets about that? Does he still feel, the same way? Instead of asking about, Epstein, there are other questions in this interview that I thought were good. But there's clearly the takeaway is that it's clearly a very popular thing. If you look just from comparison, just look at likes, because that's how we know like a real interaction. 642,000 likes. I mean, Tucker doesn't have anything anywhere near that. His interview with Vivek Ramaswamy had 180,000, which is very strong. 186,000 with RFK. Trump, triple that. Probably will end somewhere around 700, 800,000. So maybe quadruple or maybe 5xing it. Later today, though, interestingly enough, Trump will break Twitter again without ever having to use it when his mugshot gets released. Now, they have had some mugshots from Fulton County. And I don't know if they're going to make him take that. The process is the punishment with this. They're trying to humiliate him and, do this kind of stuff. So, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, people that hate Trump are looking forward to this, much in the way that people that liked Trump would probably been looking forward to a Hillary mugshot or something along those lines. But all of this points to what's going to be a very, very interesting, very, very interesting election season. Now, I generally don't cover hard politics, but this, some of these things when they cross over into cultural issues like video views on X/Twitter, I always think to be interesting. When his mugshot comes out, that might generate even more, even more than the Tucker interview. It's gonna be interesting to see if Trump returns to Twitter. I think he has to. I know a lot of people say to me, have said, well, he can't, this, that, and the other. I disagree. I think he can, should, and will return to Twitter if he wants to win the election. It would be absolutely boneheaded if he didn't. He should have already been back on Twitter. He should be back on Twitter right now. I mean, if they own Truth Social, then he should figure out a way to at least be posting tweets of his truths on Twitter an hour later. Then he can still bring people over to Truth Social, but still get access. I mean, if he wants to win presidency, he's got to be on Twitter. He's got to be triggering the media. He's got to start, getting his takes out on the important stuff as things develop, especially on Hawaii, things of that nature. So it's going to be interesting to see as people gather in Fulton County to see the most popular mugshot, one of the most popular mugshots maybe of all time. Hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll talk to you again real soon.